Hi, my name is Brisa, and I'm going to be talking about the evolution of Greek statuary. So, the objective of my project is to show the evolution of Greek statuary. My MVP was the spear bearer. I chose him because I wanted to show how Greek sculptures have evolved. And I'll be using three other statues to show the evolution over time. So, one of the important impetus of the development of anatomical proportions in Greek art was the emergence of humanism, an ideological or philosophical approach that stresses the importance of the human being rather than divine or celestial forces. Humanism focuses on human experience and naturalistic perspectives and emphasizes the human being's potential for achievement or greatness in all things. So Polykleitos is one of the greatest innovative Greek sculptors of the 5th century. He stands alone in his concentration on the problems of the nude male human body, for which he evolved a standard proportion and representation that in one way or another influenced the subsequent development of sculpture in Western civilization. He is best known for the well-balanced proportions of his human figures. His depiction of the human form became the standard for generations of Greek sculptors. He also wrote a book addressing the technical problems that had challenged previous Greek sculptors for centuries. So the first sculpture that I want to talk about is Archaeochorus. So this statue reveals efforts that better convey the male figure, with incised lines used to delineate abdominal and thigh muscles. This young man, or chorus, also exhibits greater facial expression, illustrating the tight mannequin-like expression known as the archaic smile, a common feature of the sculpture during this period. Next, I want to move on to Critias Boy. He is the next step in this evolution during the transition to the early classical period, commenced with the victory of the Greeks over Persian invaders and considered along the High Classical period the peak years of ancient Greek civilization. Though his face is still relatively expressionless, the archaic smile is gone and the carved eyes, which would have been inlaid in stone, suggest a step towards imbuing the figure with personality. Also improved is the artist's understanding of musculature, so much that the sculpture gives a sense of tactability of its flesh. What is more striking about this figure is the effort to capture the naturalistic stance of contrapposto, wherein the shoulders shift opposite to the pelvis, allowing the figure weight to rest on one leg while the other bends slightly. So here we see the Critias boy. He belongs to the late Archaic period and is considered the precursor to the later classical sculptures of athletes. With this sculpture, the Greek artist has mastered a complete understanding of how different parts of the body act as a system. The statue supports his body on one leg, and while the right one is bent at the knee in a relaxing state. This stance forces a chain of anatomical events as the pelvis is pushed diagonally upward on the left side and the right buttocks relaxes. The spine acquires an S curve and the shoulder line dips on the left to counteract the action of the pelvis. This sculpture exhibits a number of other critical innovations that distinguish it from the archaic career that paved its way. The muscular and skeletal structure are depicted with unforged lifelike accuracy, with the ribcage naturally expanded as if in act of breathing. So as a final forebearer of this classical period, the smile of archaic statues has been completely replaced by accurate rendering of lips, and the expression that is characterized is of the severe period of the archaic to the classical era. The next sculpture I want to talk about is the Rice Warrior. Two bronzes were miraculously discovered in the sea off the coast of Rice Marina in southern Italy, and they were discovered by Stefano Mariottini, who spotted them while diving a mere 200 meters from the shore. Lying at the depth of just 8 meters, he noticed an arm sticking up from the sandy seabed, and digging down to investigate, he did not only see a large statue, but there was a second figure buried close by. Within 5 days, the authorities were notified, and with further investigation on the site, it was revealed that possibly it was used as a part of a ship's sail, and a fragment of the ship's keel containing two bronze lynchums. These artifacts likely belong to the Roman period or later. Before going on display, the figures had to undergo various years of labor in restoration, which took about 5 years due to the sand and debris that had to be removed from their interiors and their surfaces. The two figures are made of cast bronze, and this metal was the favorite of Greek artists, but because it was always in demand for reuse in later periods, very few complete sculptures, no more than 12, have survived. Both statues sport beards and both strike a very similar pose. They both have their feet resting on the ground with the left slightly forward to the right, and both are turning ever so slightly to the right. The arms hanging at the sides with the left arm bent and holding a shield, neither of which have survived. In the right arms they held in an almost vertical position, perhaps a lance or a spear. The disappearance of the shield and weapons may be due to their probable separation from the figures while they were being transported. Now that we have the basis for those three sculptures, I want to talk about Polycletius, who was known for his perfection of the contrapposto stance, in conjunction with his writing of the Canon, one of the most influential known ancient treatises on art. He advocated for sculptural symmetria, which basically means that all parts of the sculpture should be designed in perfect proportion to each other. This principle is demonstrated in my MVP, the spear bearer, particularly in the counterbalance of the figure's shoulders to his hips. With his weight resting on his right foot, this figure's left leg is bent and his left foot is extended behind him, as if the spear bearer had been caught mid-stride. While this positioning of the legs causes the spear bearer left hip to dip downward, Polycletius compensates for this by adjusting his left shoulder upward. This counterbalancing allows for the symmetry of the sculpture and thus fits Polycletius' canon for beauty. So here we have the spear bearer. This artwork belongs to the classical art era, and it is one of the most frequently copied Greek statues. The Doryphorus embodied Polycletius' vision of the ideal statue of a nude male athlete or warrior. It is the culmination of the evolution in Greek statuary from the archaic Cruis to the Critias boy to the race warrior. Polycletius' aim was to impose order on human movement to make it beautiful. He was able to achieve this through contrapposto, which is counterbalance. What appears at first to be a casually natural pose is in fact the result of an extremely complex and subtle organization of the figure's various parts. The spear bearer seems to take a step forward but does not move. This dynamic, asymmetrical balance, this motion while at rest, and the resulting harmony of opposites are the essence of the Polycletian style. In summary, we have discussed and analyzed different Greek statues and sculptures throughout the years, and hopefully shown my objective of demonstrating the evolution that Greek statuary has had from the very first one, which was the archaic Cruis, to the spear bearer. And I hope you have learned more about Greek statuary and how it has evolved over the years, and how each period and each sculptor have made an influence into adding such tiny details that really do make a difference in each sculpture. Thank you.